Jason, it's the new year.
2026. We're in the future.
That's just crazy. Every year I say this. I'm going to say it again next year. It's the new year, and as always, we do predictions, which we put out recently. And as always, we go back and we look at the previous year's predictions. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, I will say to the listeners that was a particularly long episode, the 25 predictions. It was a 48-minute episode, and you guys have given us feedback that you like things a little shorter than that in general. So we're going to break this into two sets, a set of 12 and a set of 9. And we're going to do this 2 episodes in a row so that we don't give you something that's just unmanageably long. Does that sound okay?
Tim, I'm not even going to have it in front of me to keep it fresh. So here we go.
All right, so let's jump in. This is in the order we gave them. We'll do the first 12 and then we'll break. So the first one, shortened certificate lifespans become concrete. And in particular, here's the direct quote out of that episode. A concrete schedule for certificate lifespan reduction is in place and starts in 2026.
Check.
So nailed it. Yes, that is 100% accurate in every way. That did come about fairly early in the year. That does indeed start in 2026. In fact, it starts in March. And there is a multi-year program step down that is in place that is just 100% solid. Yep.
And Tim, that wasn't always a given, was it?
No. When we made the prediction, it wasn't a given at all. We had been looking for this since early 2023. So at that point, we were almost 2 years in. We were 22 months in, and there was no external indication that anything was going to happen. And as a reminder, at the time, Chrome had originally thrown down this gauntlet, and we expected Chrome to be the ones to drive the dialogue. And then in a bit of a surprise move, Apple stepped in and laid out the very specific concrete proposal that then was modified multiple times and eventually became the proposal that we have now. But all of that was not clear at that time.
The entire history of it we covered in detail on this podcast.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
that was an interesting long time period for it to shake out. But you were right.
It was a long time. So yes, and that's probably a fairly easy prediction, but nonetheless, it was right. Next on the list, so a taxonomy of human versus non-human identity will be settled. So as a reminder, we talked about the fact that, there's a difference between a digital identity that's associated with a human being that I might have in some form of cert, and a digital identity connected to something else like an agent or a server or something along those lines. And you talked about how it's kind of language-wise, nomenclature-wise, it's fuzzy, and how there's disadvantages to that because everybody doesn't always know exactly what everybody else is talking about, and that would get concretely settled, so we all did. Do you think that happened?
I think we can qualify for a check mark there.
Okay.
Because Gartner did put out the official taxonomy,
Right.
so that is out there. On the other hand, the way that the world actually speaks about it is probably still 50-50 and it's fuzzy.
I think that's exactly right. I think that we did not see widespread universal pickup of that technology from Gartner, and I think the problems that come with us not knowing exactly what we mean still remain. I think we need some more work in this one as an IT community.
I'd even add a little bit of color to that, which is that agentic AI-based identities weren't even a thing.
True. Good point. Very good point. I agree. All right. Number 2. Number 3, sovereign AI. And what we mean by sovereign AI is that there will be AIs that are regional in nature and ultimately, for want of a better word, let's say owned by local government at the national level. I am not clued into any of this having happened, but I don't know that I would be. Do we feel like that took place?
I would say that officially, no.
Right.
However,
right.
Where I will give us a at least some form of a check mark is the fact that the ball is absolutely in motion for basically, the Europeans having theirs, Chinese having theirs, and then of course the rest of the West, United States having theirs. And I would say that it geopolitical stuff that's going on at the moment that I won't even mention is probably pushing us even further in that direction.
I think it's hard to imagine that this not happening in a long enough time frame. I think the more interesting question is how soon. And in general, this is one of the things we run into with these predictions. We've run into them in previous years. We'll see it further down the list in this year's predictions as well. Is sometimes there's a multi-year process, and if the process gets going, do we give ourselves a check mark or not? Right, and we'll return to this again. Right, because it's just a question of how we want to score it. But at least in one of these other predictions, it's definitely in process. It's definitely a multi-year process.
You got it.
All right, so qualified check mark. All right, this one I think we'll get 100% on. We will not see artificial general intelligence in 2025, as opposed to the specific use cases that we have seen many of.
We've seen incredibly powerful frontier models, but we have not seen, I think, what anybody calls AGI.
I absolutely agree. Once again, it doesn't seem like it's probably a terribly much of a hot take, but there was some discussion a year ago by some credible people predicting the opposite, and you in particular were pretty straight in saying, I just don't think this is going to be the case, and I think you were right on that one.
It's interesting how, so I just got to say it, Tim, it's interesting how we say it now and it seems obvious, but at the time it really wasn't.
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of crazy how much can happen in a year, and this is probably something we should let's put a pin on that and hit at the end of the next episode.
Yeah.
But I think there's a pace of change conversation that deserves to be had.
Yeah.
All right. So number 5, we're going through these pretty fast, which is good. Number 5, we will see the complete, this was my prediction. We'll see the complete and utter integration of AI into every conceivable use case, even the ridiculous ones.
I think we got to give ourselves a pretty good check on that.
That's the one I was just alluding to. I'm going to say this is very well and enthusiastically underway. My language was perhaps a little too strong. When you use words like every conceivable, that's probably not fair. And if you think back to like the internet, we had the same thing, right? Where 1995, all of a sudden, everybody wakes up one day and they've heard of the World Wide Web, and Netscape goes public, and it's this huge thing. And then at that point, we saw the integration of the internet into every conceivable use case, including the ridiculous ones. But that integration process, including the ridiculous ones, that was probably a 5-year process, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing here. So we are all, as eagerly as we conceivably can, shoehorning AI into every nook and cranny of our lives, whether it makes it better or not. But there's so many nooks and crannies that will be a multi-year process. So I want to go back and revise my wording a little. And if I'm allowed to revise my wording a little, I think we can give ourselves a check mark on that
one. I'm only going to add that what we have absolutely seen on top of that, which would have put us over the top in terms of getting the full check, is people have probably tried just about every nook and cranny.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
And the amount of value people are getting is not even. That's for sure.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Right. With some incredible outsized use cases that are just ludicrous. And then other things where, again, we're just kind of applying it. And once again, shades of the internet and 1995. It was the same thing. Some things were absolutely transformational. I can pay bills online. Changed my life, right?
Yeah.
I had to send a letter recently, and I don't own stamps. I drove to the post office, walked up to the window, gave them my credit card for them to charge me 51 cents, to indicia the thing and drop it in the bin because I don't own stamps, right? And so that is the degree to which that kind of thing is transformational. Other things, just fizzled away and nobody ever heard of them ever again. We're going to see the same thing with AI, right?
I think for coders, developers, R&D people, yeah, I think just about every nook and cranny of your life is affected by AI right now. And if it hasn't, it's going to be real fast. I think that's the one area in the world right now where it is utterly pervasive.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So yeah, I mean, again with the slight modification of the point and intent of that, I think that's a check mark for sure. Number 6, attacks against agentic AI. I don't know about that, but I bet you it's happening.
I can tell you what did happen. And in fact, we did an episode on this, Tim. It's going to be published soon. We did an episode on agentic AI being used to perform what it would have been a traditional attack.
Absolutely.
So in other words, the attackers were using it as an automation tool in a very thorough way.
For sure. Right. And then the question again, and I don't know if we would know this also, but to the degree that you can compromise somebody's agentic AI and you can start making it do the thing you want rather than the thing that its owner wants, that absolutely is a legitimate attack. I can't think of any headlines of that happening. I don't know that we would know.
I think you're right. And I also, here's my congratulations to most people, which is the usage of MCP servers in order to be able to plug in agentic AI to tooling is cautious, beta. I think a lot of people realize that the security aspect of this has not been fully sorted out.
God, yeah. If you put an agentic AI in that can transform all of your business processes and someone gets a way to go in and own it, now they can, send themselves all your money.
It's going to turn out to be maybe in 2026, 2027, one of the largest cottage industries there is agentic agentic AI identities, and how they authenticate.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big thing.
It's going to be a big thing. I agree. All right. Number 7. Yes. Number 7, we said that the major root programs were going to take measures to separate public and private certificate use cases. And this was coming out of the very messy 2024, where the mixture of these use cases was used as an excuse by 20 CAs, literally 20 CAs, to not do the things that they were supposed to do. And we predicted that the browsers are going to say, that's it, enough, can't have this. Well, that happened in a big way. That was 100% check mark.
100% check mark. That prediction came super hot off the heels of the Bloodbath episodes that you covered in mega detail. And what was just a feeling at the time came out very true very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And in particular, Chrome really issued the ultimate
Chrome 1.6 in February 2025.
Yeah.
So literally less than 60 days after I think we published that predictions episode, Tim.
Yeah.
Google put that in ink.
Yep. And the coup de grace was Chrome making the client AuthKU illegal inside of its root program.
That's right.
And basically, the consequence of that is that your public certs cannot technically perform any kind of client authentication, and in so doing, that really renders these certificates not fit for purpose for a huge amount of private use cases that they're being used for today. So it was a technical constraint implemented by the Chrome team to destroy the ability to use these certs in lots and lots of these use cases. And I see, though Chrome didn't say this publicly to my knowledge, I see that as a direct response to the real mess that we saw in 2024.
We get the check on this one for sure.
Yep. So that one happened. And by the way, that's still in the process of being deprecated, right? It will be deprecated this year, but it's well underway. And there's it's going to happen. All right. So, this one probably isn't that much of a prediction, but we made it. We will see broad acceptance among serious informed thinkers about the reality and the imminence of post-quantum cryptography. 100%.
100%.
I mean, what a giant story it was throughout 2025 and grew over the course of the year. And again, this is one of the ones you said where, with hindsight, it seems obvious, but in 2024, that bubble hadn't come to the surface yet. We both thought it was going to, and it did.
There's no way. At the end of 2024, this was not obvious at all. In fact, I would say that awareness was, less than 5%. Unbelievable.
25 was definitely the year that the enterprise noticed post-quantum cryptography.
Yep.
And that came in a big way. And in fact, Sectigo, we did some research. We published some research in the summer where we looked at, enterprises and their attitudes toward both PQC and shortening certificate lifespans. And, if you didn't catch that episode, I'd encourage you to go back and listen to both of those episodes because they really gave us a good kind of state of the nation of where these things are.
Right on.
All right. Number 9, progress among quantum computers will continue to strengthen. How do we feel about that?
I would have to say that with the advent of Willow, Margarine, etc., how could you say we had anything other than a check there?
I agree. I mean, Willow immediately popped to mind when I read that one right now as a very important moment. And you and I just recently published an episode asking, will there ever be a crypto-relevant quantum computer, which is certainly a germane conversation. But I think probably a lot of people feel much better about saying yes to that than they did a year ago.
I agree.
All right. Number 10, we will see post-quantum cryptography in production. And we didn't mean kind of not including Cloudflare and Google and a few of these real outliers. I don't think we get a check mark on that.
I would have to agree. I would say that
little corner cases, but
it's the chems. The chems are absolutely in, but not really anything else.
Yeah. And that's another thing to see. And I'm not sure we ever had this as one of our predictions, but there was a real shakeup over the course of 25 in terms of our understanding of what the real key exchange was going to look like, right? At the beginning of the year, I think we still thought that traditional PKI with ML Chem was a viable candidate. It looked less viable over the course of the year for the simple reason that the key sizes are a problem. And the photosynthesis proposal gained strength in that time to the point where right now I would put photosynthesis in the pole position.
Yep.
And that wasn't at all true 12 months ago. So that I think one of the things that happened in 25 is we all kind of came to the realization that this was a gnarlier problem than most people thought it was.
It is. It just is, period. And it continues to be, Tim.
Yeah. So, yes. Number 12. And then this is connected to that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I skipped 12. Number 11, quantum computers make us think better about how to use our existing computers. So the idea here is that as we're using quantum computers it opens up our horizons and our creative thinking. And at the end of the day, we get cleverer about using the existing traditional architecture that we have to accomplish our tasks. Do we think that'll
I
happen?
I absolutely say that's happening. We get the check. I will say though that it's happening in quieter corners than most people are used to. Um, People, in order to be able to have that kind of conclusion and use it, you actually have to have had your hands dirty on some form of small quantum computer. And I think that quantum computers that are available to us right now are still so small that most people are not investing the time to teach themselves where the insights are. So it's not universal. However, in some spaces, various forms of healthcare, biology, materials handling, the answer is absolutely yes.
Yeah, and that's still important, right? Like it doesn't have to be the majority of the use cases to be something that's significant and really matters, especially since those spaces you just talked about touch everything.
Exactly.
Right? Um, and then our last one, number 12, is actually a bit of a variation on number 10. I think we return to it to go into more depth. So, widespread quantum key exchange in production, but in particular, we said you'll be able to run MLChem in your internal environment, and this will be happening in real world production systems. So, I'm
It
going to,
is.
yeah,
It just is. That one was the truest of all. It's simply in your pocket right now, whether you know it or not.
yeah. And this tends to be again in this kind of internal use case, this use case where a single organization owns the whole network, right, wall to wall, because that's where you can implement these kind of changes and you don't need to worry about interoperability, right? It's really in the public use case that we have a challenge, because if I stand up a server and I don't control every single server that touches that server, then it becomes orders of magnitude harder to actually implement an MLChem solution than if I can say, this my software only needs to work. This piece of software only needs to work with this piece of software, and I control them both, right? And under those circumstances, it's much, much easier to make this happen.
Apple is the classic version of all of that. The answer there is absolutely
Yeah,
yes.
Apple,
The CDNs, the hyperscalers, they're all there.
the ultimate controllers of their environment, Apple. Yeah, if anybody can get it right, it's Apple. So yes, I think that is where we do see PQC in production. Other areas, it's been much more challenged.
Yes.
All right, well, that is our first 12 predictions in a nice, crisp session, and we will follow up with the next 12 in the next episode that you listen to. So thank you very much, as always, Jason.
See you there.
This has been Rukazis.